Oh, dude, I'm so ready. Oh.
Well, as y'all can tell, Patrick is back from last week. Everybody, it is time to breathe again on the latest Breath of Fresh Air webcast on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, streaming live on those forums. So, you got Patrick, you have me, Charles, and here we are, man. Doing the review and the preview of the college football preview show. So, Patrick, just so we're clear, we're gonna try something new here with the preview show. So, correction to what I had just to what we were talking about. I don't necessarily have those teams. So what I'll do is just go off of those 5 games that you will preview, and then I'll just pick off of those as well, and then we'll make the other changes next week.
I give you plenty of time. It's not like you're like, hey, oh, wait, we're gonna add this topic in. I'm like, okay, well, are you fixing to hit play on the show?
Yes. Yeah. Patrick, you knew we were about to go live. So, you was telling the story, and you're like, oh yeah, I know we're fixing to go live. And so all of a sudden you're like, hey, you got your teams? Yeah. No.
Dude, there's so many good teams. You can pick 5 of them. It's not a problem.
It's all good. All right, we'll freelance this. This kind of what
you can freelance it, and then we'll go. I actually did my homework
for once, we'll actually go ahead and
so we're making history already at the beginning.
I know Patrick actually did his homework on a topic. He got me beat this time.
And you know when I do my homework because I got my pen ready.
Oh my goodness, yes, it's definitely on. All right, let's go. So Patrick, before we get to the preview, let's review some of the stuff that we saw from last week's college football action. What jumps out to you?
Okay, so I do have to. I have a few games that I want to pick on, and I'm going to start with my Georgia Bulldogs. 3 turnovers in the first quarter, bro. Seriously, what against Kent State? Hey, shout out to Kent State though. Shout out to Kent State. I got to give them a shout out because going into Washington, going into Oklahoma, and going into Georgia, all 3 Power 5 conference teams, 2 of them highly ranked, and hey, show a lot of guts, man. Shout out to Kent State for doing that. That's mad respect. Mad respect for Kent State for doing that. So I wanted to say that on there. But Georgia did not look like Georgia. I'm glad they got it out of their system last week, because going into conference play, we can't have those kind of stupid mistakes. Stetson Bennett, I mean, he was somewhat on cue with passing, but was not like the best. What's that kid's name that kept dropping the ball? He had a fumble, had 2 fumbles. No, he had a muff punt and a fumble.
Yeah, McCluskey
or something like that, bro. Now, don't get me wrong, that kid is good every week.
Had a bad day.
He just had a bad day. I mean, and I'm not gonna sit here and say no, he should never play again, because the kid is good. He is really good. But at a certain point, I know what Kirby Smart kept putting him in. He finally got right. He got some got right in the system. But man, that first half was hell for him. I felt bad for him, but I was like, get him off the field. It ain't his day. Get him off. Yelling at the screen, man. My son even came in and he goes, Charles is about to give you a call. I was like, no, he won't. He goes, how do you know? I was like, because Georgia's not doing good. He ain't calling me.
This is true. If anything, I might send a text, or I'll just wait till you text it.
Just wait till I text, because when it's a bad day in Georgia, man, it's a bad day in my house. Clemson and Wake Forest. Wow, what a game. I had Wake Forest winning that game, but man, what a game. And Wade in Clemson, way to fight through and find a way to win. You know what I mean? So that game, Florida Tennessee was a good game. I picked all losers this week because I had Florida winning that game, but man, Tennessee showed some grit, dude. It's nice to see. Hopefully, this rivalry comes back starting this year. I mean, Florida has dominated that series, like 16 out of 17 games for the past, however many years. Um, so it was good to see. I dropped my pen. It was good to see that rivalry kind of come back and get started. What was the other one? Oregon and Washington State. A lot of people forget about Oregon after Georgia. I think we had this conversation. You said that, and I was like, yeah, I agree.
Well, I said it. Yeah, I said it on last week's show that I know a lot of people just Oregon didn't play football anymore after the game against Georgia. But I mean, they had the really solid win over BYU, and this game, I mean, they came from behind. They were down 12 with a few minutes to go, and they scored 22 unanswered to pull that win out. And Bo Nix, if he, we talked about Bo Nix a lot. Our friend Bear, we've had this conversation about Bo Nix over and over again. And the thing with Bo Nix is if he runs when it's necessary, instead of trying to turn in the backyard Bo, he can play.
Yeah, and he can play.
He just gets in the backyard Bo mode, and it turns ugly because he's trying to run around in circles, and he doesn't have that speed necessarily to outrun defenses, particularly the defenses that are fast, can chase you down, have 350-pounders that can run 4.6s. But if he tries to do that, then it's not going to go well. But if he stays in the pocket, makes his reads, uses legs when it's necessary, when it's smart, then Bo Nix can do some things. He can play some QB. It just doesn't happen consistently. That's the problem that you're running into with Bo Nix.
Yeah. And then I got two more games. Mm-hmm. Actually, I got three more games. Jonathan's going to be mad on this one. Oklahoma losing.
He won't be mad because he won't show up.
He won't show up.
He won't show up.
You're right. Oklahoma also, Jonathan's a no-show.
Yeah.
It's like, if Oklahoma beats Texas, though, he'll be here.
You're right. Yeah.
Oklahoma, it's a no-show. But Kansas State, man, came out and played some football, dude. They did. And I don't know. Maybe Oklahoma was looking past Kansas State, thinking that they would, But I think we even talked about this. This was one of those gotcha games. And I don't know. Was it you I was talking about that?
I don't know, to be honest.
We talk so much football. Who knows? The other game was the Arkansas Texas A&M game. I had Arkansas winning that game. Go figure. And then, sorry, your Texas and Texas Tech game.
Yeah. So on the Texas game and on the Oklahoma game. So both of the teams our respective schools were playing. I'll start with Texas and Texas Tech real quick. Going up to Lubbock is it's a weird spot. And I say that as respectfully as I can. It's a weird spot. The crowd is always in it. There's this buzz. There's a buzz that goes on if you're watching it on television, and if you're there live. Like I've been there a couple of times live in that area because of course I was stationed out in New Mexico, and where I was close to Lubbock, about an hour away, hour and a half away. And that stadium is just a buzz, but that's the only thing that's there in Lubbock. So they're all about the Red Raiders there. So it's just a tough place to come up to. And if you're not careful, you can get got. Patrick, we had a 14-point lead. We had a 2-touchdown lead there. And I've said all the time, especially in these last couple of years with Texas, we have difficulty finishing. Now, I could say it was a depth issue, but if Texas Tech is going to run 100 plays, they ran almost 100 plays in that game. Most defenses are not going to be able to keep up with that. Like, that's just that is far too many plays to be out there for a defense. And that also goes with being able to sustain drives. Steve Sarkisian, I think he's a very good play caller, but for whatever reason, it doesn't seem like the adjustments are being made in the second half. And we can keep the ball moving enough to keep these leads, to finish games, and ultimately get victories. Texas Tech hung around, give them their credit, and hey, we got the ball first in overtime, but Bijan Robinson, our star running back, he fumbled first carry. So to just kind of set Texas Tech up to win. So credit to them. And the Kansas State-Oklahoma game. So here's the thing with that matchup, Patrick. Oklahoma always has trouble with Kansas State. Always. It does not matter the year. It doesn't matter who is playing. It doesn't matter where the game is at. Kansas State is just one of those matchups Oklahoma, Texas North, has issues with. And it was the same thing. The quarterback, Adrian Martinez, who was in Nebraska all those years and is now playing at Kansas State, destroyed the Sooner defense. Destroyed it. That actually made my day a little bit better to watch Oklahoma. Knowing Oklahoma lost, I was okay. So,
it also helps you keep stride, you know.
Yes. So it was all right, man. But we're gonna talk more in a little bit after we do the preview about the balance in college, because that is kind of what stuck out to me. Is these conferences could be tougher than what we were thinking. Yeah. The other games, you mentioned them, Arkansas and Texas A&M. I mean, Arkansas, they lost their field goal kicker, hit the top of the upright. I mean, that's crazy. Yeah, you hit the top of the upright. Yeah. And it does. So
our conversation about that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Maybe one of those breath of fresh air after dark you get to
Yeah, that'd be the uncensored ones. So the Clemson Wake Forest game, very good game. I mean, I actually got to catch a good amount of all these games. And I mean, Wake Forest, you know they can score. You're just wondering if they could get enough stops, and they just couldn't get enough stops. And Clemson was able to pull that one out. Credit to the Tigers for pulling that out. And then another game that stuck out, USC and Oregon State stuck out. Now, I felt USC was going to have a tough time winning this game, and they did. I mean, they won it 17-14. And Caleb Williams, when he had to make plays, he did. They were able to get a drive at the end to pull that game out. Throughout that game, Patrick, he looked bad. You remember that Oklahoma game when they were in Oklahoma last year, him and Lincoln Riley? Remember that game against Baylor where he was looking horrible and he got pulled? It was looking like that. Like it was
I'm pulling and put in for him this time.
Right, yeah, right.
Oops. Put in the kicker. Life of a kicker. Life of a kicker.
But he was,
you can kick, but you can throw.
But he was able to pull it out at the end. Made a real good throw to the other transfer they had, the receiver Jordan Addison, to pull it out. It was right there, right before the safety could break it up, and they won that game. So I'll give USC credit; they escaped. But other than that, yeah, I mean, it was a very interesting weekend. Michigan got some trouble from Maryland as well. One more thing, Patrick, before we get to the preview. And I told you this yesterday when we were talking on the phone. It is amazing how many places are doing the horns down to be. It is so funny. Of course, Texas Tech was going to do it. We're playing them in Lubbock, of course.
Understood.
Oklahoma, I know they hate us. I get it. But they're playing Kansas State. And yet, I see horns down all over the place.
Arkansas, you know what? They probably should have worried about Kansas State before they started worrying about Texas.
Arkansas and Texas A&M, two other places that can't stand us. But they're playing each other. They're doing the horns down. I think I saw horns down in the Maryland-Michigan game too. And I'm like, we're not even playing, y'all. Why? And we haven't won anything. We've been garbage the last decade. Why is there so many horns down? Why is everybody?
You know what?
Why?
You know what?
Why?
Because the last time I was on here 2 weeks ago, what did I say? Texas is more SEC ready than anybody. So
I don't think it has anything to do with
that. Everybody heard it, and they're like, "Whoa, Patrick! Whoa, that's a good point." I'm like,
"Oh, Patrick, I'm sorry. I can't give you credit for that one. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think it's just been
with me saying that, everybody's taking note. That's all.
No, okay.
Herb Street coming for your job, bro. That's how good I am. Just saying.
So
he's probably like, man, I got Thursday, I'm good.
so the people in Ann Arbor, they heard it. Like, Michigan got nothing to do with us. Horns down, huh?
Hey, don't be surprised if they doing horns down at FIFA.
In Qatar. Okay, got you.
Yeah, why not?
All right. With that, Patrick, let's get to your 5 games. Let's get to your 5 games that you're previewing. So I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna take your lead here with these 5 games, and then we'll just pick the winners for each. And then
so let's explain what we're doing. So we are trying something new. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna pick 5 games. Charles is gonna pick 5 games. We're gonna pick one team from each Power 5 conference. I pick my 5. Charles tells me the winners and losers of my 5, and I tell the winners and losers of his 5. And we're going to start keeping a running tally on against each other who picks winners and losers better. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're going to try something new and see how it goes.
I don't have my games though, so
there's so many good games. We'll just do these 5 between us, and then next week you can pick your 5, and I'll pick my 5, and then we'll go from there. And then we're going to keep a running tally, and we're going to put them up on the show and see who's numero uno at the end of college football. Got my pen ready. Just to take on that win.
Okay.
So here is we won't have to see, because I did my homework this week for the first time. So win, Patrick.
That's the first time in 7 years that you got to win.
Win
because you actually did a homework.
Man.
So 7 years that you actually did your homework, I think.
Yes. Well, I'd say the second time I did my homework, I did do my homework on that webcast with PETA.
Oh.
What about the rat, PETA? What about the rat?
This is a shorty, dude.
Yeah,
what's your 5 games, Patrick?
So I'm going to start with Pac-12, and this is my Pac-12 game of the week. Oregon State versus Utah. I'll go ahead and tell you, I got Utah winning this game, but I think this is going to be close. I think it's going to be really close. I got Utah 21-17.
Okay. I got Utah by 10.
Woo!
Yeah. Oregon State is a good team. They're gonna scrap, but with that game being in Salt Lake City, I think Utah can pull away a little bit. So I'll go Utah. Are you giving a score, or
I just said 21-17.
21-17. Okay, cool. I'll go 31-21 for Utah.
And you got 31-21 Utah. Okay. So do you want to break it down a little bit and
No, I mean, I just think Utah is, I think the physicality they play with and the play calling or the quarterbacking of Cameron Rising will start to, will have them start to pull away. Oregon State, they can have a little bit of trouble scoring sometimes. And so if they play a good defense, it can get a little bit choppy for them. If they can establish the run, which it is tough to establish the run on Utah's defense. If they can't establish that run, then they're going to be in a little bit of trouble. And then again, with that game being in Salt Lake City, that gives Utah the edge there. So to me, it's really home field advantage in the play of Cameron Rising, their quarterback. That gives them the difference.
Yeah, I mean, I think Oregon State is, like you said, they're scrappy. They are a scrappy team, and I don't think they're going to come in to Utah thinking that they are going to lose. That's the reason why I kind of have it a little bit closer, 21-17. I do think it's going to be a lower scoring game because I do think the defenses are going to step up tremendously in this game. But I do give Utah the edge, mostly because they are playing at home. So, yeah, I agree. Big Ten?
Yep.
My Big Ten pick is Northwestern versus Penn State. You want to go first?
Sure. Yes. Northwestern and Penn State. Oh, and then real quick, Patrick. So I can actually I just thought about these games off the top of my head. So we could do it the way we were gonna talk about it. And we'll go back to the Pac-12 afterwards. After the Big Ten. So if you got Northwestern and Penn State, I'll take Michigan and Iowa. Penn State, I think same thing. They should have enough offense to beat Northwestern. I think Northwestern's going to struggle to score a little bit. And with that game being in Happy Valley, I give Penn State, I think they'll win. I think this one's not really that close. I mean, Northwestern's going to scrap, I think, for the first half, but I'm going to go Penn State 27-14 there.
27-14.
Yes.
I agree with you. I got Penn State. You said 27-14, right?
Yeah, I got 27-14.
Okay, writing that down. Okay. I got Penn State 28-10.
2010. Okay. Yeah, same thing. Northwestern struggles to score.
I think Northwestern struggles to score, but at the same note, I think Northwestern struggles to stop Penn State from scoring. Penn State can throw up some numbers, and we've seen them. We've seen them throw up some really good plays, get some big numbers up on the board. Northwestern, they just haven't proved to me that they can stop anybody. I mean, even in that game 1 of the season, dude. I mean, they had that game. That game was just a blowout from both teams. So I don't think Northwestern can stop anybody. So I'm going 28-10 Penn State.
All right, cool. And Patrick, so my game for the Big Ten, and then we'll go back to the Pac-12 to give my game after that. Michigan and Iowa. Iowa, same thing. I think they'll be hyped up. They're playing this one in Iowa City. So it is a tough place to go over there, Kinnick Stadium. It's a tough place to play at, but Iowa struggles to score as well. I think Michigan will pull away, and that will be a similar score as I got for Northwestern and Penn State. I'm going 31-13. I just think Iowa struggles to score that much. 31-13. Yeah, 31-13. I'll go there.
Okay. All the things that you just said, easy enough, man. I got 42-10.
42-10. Okay.
42-10 Michigan.
All right. Yep. So we're both on agreements with the Big Ten scores. And then going back to the Pac-12. Okay. My game, Washington at UCLA. So this is going to be a Friday night game.
Ooh.
This is a late Friday night game. Being played at the Rose Bowl. This one I think is going to be close. Washington has been stepping up their play. UCLA is quietly, just kind of going about their business, but they haven't lost. I think this one will be close. I think Washington pulls this out, though. This will be a little bit more of a high-scoring affair to me. I got Washington winning. I'm going to go 34-31.
Ooh, I like that score, man. I really like that score so much that I'm going to go with the same score. I got UCLA.
Yeah, UCLA? Okay.
And because, like you said, UCLA is really quiet right now, but they're winning. They're taking care of business, and they actually have not turned over the ball at all. I mean, I think they have one turnover all season so far. I think they do a lot of the same thing. I think Washington does live and die on their secondary, jumping the routes, trying to get interceptions, very physical in the secondary. But I think UCLA can actually play with that, and I really do think that UCLA will capitalize on that aggressiveness and win that. But I got UCLA 34-31.
All right. What's the next conference? We'll just follow your lead with the conferences.
Big 12.
All right. Who you got?
I got Oklahoma State and Baylor.
Okay.
And I'll start this one off. Oklahoma State, quiet. They're quiet. They are a quiet team. They play really well, and this one's going to be tough because I think didn't Baylor lose last week?
No, they won. They won at Iowa State last week.
They won at Iowa State. So did Baylor? I think Baylor lost the last week before that.
They lost in week 2 at BYU in overtime.
Oh yeah, that's right. BYU. That's right. Okay. I think that brought them back down to earth. I really do. I think that loss was like, okay, we were highly ranked at that time. Teams are not scared of us. And I think that actually plays in their favor, especially when they're playing in Baylor. I'm going to go Baylor. And I really do think this is going to be a high-scoring game because, honestly, I don't think either one of these teams have a great defense. I'm going to go 45-38.
45-38. Who? Baylor? You got
Baylor.
Okay. I agree with you on Baylor. I think it'll be close. I mean, like their defenses, both of those teams' defenses they're not the best, but I say they're opportunistic. Yeah, they can get the stops and they really have to have them. I'm gonna pick Baylor, and that game is in Waco as well. So I'm picking Baylor. This is going to be similar to the score that it was, I think, when they played each other in the Big 12 championship game last year. Something like, put me down for 30-25, something crazy like that. Yeah, it seems like a really odd.
You know what's crazy about this team is these two is they always put up weird numbers.
Yeah, and they're pretty evenly matched too. So yeah, I'm going Baylor like 30-25.
Okay.
And then my game, God, there's so many. All right, so obviously I could go with Texas, West Virginia, or I could go with Oklahoma and TCU, but I'm not. I'm gonna go with Texas Tech at Kansas State.
Ooh, that was gonna be my pick too.
Yeah, man,
it's gonna be such a good game.
Yes, these two are playing each other in Manhattan, Kansas. I think it's going to be pretty close there. I kind of wrestled with this one. Now that I'm in the mode that you got me in the mode now, I kind of wrestled with this one, and I didn't know which direction to go. I'm gonna end up going with Kansas State. I think they will win this one, and I wouldn't be surprised if this game went to overtime either.
I was telling you, it wouldn't surprise me if this went into 3 overtimes.
I'm going 38-35.
Nice score.
38-35, Kansas State.
So I know that I know that Kansas State they're a good team. They really are, and they showed that last week, obviously. But man, so is Texas Tech, dude.
I went back and forth with it, man. I did almost pick Texas Tech.
This one I am going to disagree with you. I'm going to go Texas Tech. For all the same reasons that you went for Kansas, man. Seriously. But like you did, I wrestled with this one. I wrestled so much with this one. I went against this one and went with the Oklahoma State Baylor game as my pick. Truthfully, I mean, because this game is going to be good. It's going to be really good. Crazy enough, I got 41-38, Texas Tech.
Okay. Yep. I mean, it could go either way. I mean, I think it's one of those things where it's rarely evenly matched, and it's going to come down to a play here, play there, turnover there. Both offenses show they can score. They talk about Texas Tech and the way they just possess the ball, almost 100 plays on our defense. And Kansas State, I mean, Adrian Martinez, just when he needed to make those runs, he was able to make those runs and big time throws as well. So it's going to be a back and forth game, I think. But yeah, we'll see. That's the one we disagree on so far. So we'll see how it goes.
Well, we disagree on the Washington.
Oh yeah, Washington, UCLA too.
But that's the only two so far.
Next
so
conference.
ACC.
Mm-hmm.
I got NC State and Clemson. And now, with that being said, this conference, and I know we're going to go over it here in a little bit. This conference has so many good games this week, man. You could almost pick every one of these games as a good game for this week. But I got NC State and Clemson. Clemson, they struggled with Wake Forest, and I mean, it was such a good game. But Clemson showed a lot of grit, came back out, found a way to win. But they will not find a way to win this week. I got NC State, and I got NC State by, I think I got them by 7. I'm going to go 28-21.
So this is a matchup, even when Clemson was really, really dominant, just running through the ACC. The one team that is always giving them trouble is NC State. No matter where they play, no matter who is on the team, just like what I said for the Kansas State-Oklahoma matchup from last week, NC State is just a tough matchup for Clemson, no matter what. They're physical up front, got a good line. They can get pressure on the quarterback, whoever it is. They're just that team that just matches up well. With all that said, though, Patrick, with this game being in Death Valley, I think Clemson will just survive in advance here. And I got a 24-21 type score. It's going to be close because, again, NC State, they match up very, very well. The thing that keeps me from picking NC State winning is I don't know if their offense has the punch it had last year when they were able to put 37 on Clemson last year when they did beat them in Raleigh. I don't know if that offense is as good as it was last year to put up that number of points. Now, Clemson's defense, Wake Forest was able to put some points on them. I think Clemson can clean those things up enough to pull this win out. So I got a 3-point win for Clemson. Yeah, 24-21. Actually, no, take that back. 27-24. We'll go 27-24 for the Clemson score. And my game, this one, Patrick, Wake Forest at Florida State.
There's so many good games.
It's a lot of good games. But I like what Florida State is building. I really do. The coach, I think his name is Mike Nordell. Fact check me on that, please. But I think, he's got him playing. And the defense is starting to come to the party too. The offense, Florida State's offense has been scoring points pretty well this year. Okay, cool. Mike Nordell. And with the defense starting to come together a little bit, starting to get a little bit more pressure on the quarterback, I think they have just enough to pull this win out against Wake Forest. The game is in Tallahassee. I think that'll be enough there to get them over. Now, I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair. I got this one something similar to, we're going to go 41 or maybe 42-39, something like that. I think it's going to be high. I think this one's going to be a shootout. So, I'm going 42-39, Florida State.
I like what he's doing in Florida State, too. Don't get me wrong. I like what Wake Forest is doing, too. But as good as Wake Forest is, I don't think they have the players that match up to Florida State in the final quarters. You know what I mean? Getting into that depth, getting into those rotations where that defense is on the field. I really feel like what Norvell is doing down there, down here, he is doing a fantastic job. I agree with you. I think it's going to be a high-scoring affair as well. I'm actually going to go Florida State 49-45.
Okay. Nice. Final conference, Patrick. SEC.
Well, I mean, again, here's a lot of good games. We could go. What is I hadn't even really looked at it. Alabama, Arkansas. That's going to be a good game. You know what I mean? I'm not going to go through all of them, but mine is Kentucky Ole Miss. I am pretty excited about this game. We're going to find out how for real Kentucky really is to an offense that is this powerful. What is that Kentucky defense going to do to an offense that is this powerful? I will tell you this. I struggle with this game a lot. We are playing. Kentucky is playing in Ole Miss. It's going to be difficult to win with that crowd, and we know how Ole Miss is. They're rowdy, not as rowdy as LSU, but they're rowdy. I just don't think Kentucky has enough power to stop that offense, man. Not with all those weapons that Lane Kiffin is throwing out there, and they're so deep at wide receiver. It's crazy. It's crazy how deep at wide receiver they are. I don't think it's going to be. I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be very high scoring. I do think that there's going to be points put up because this Kentucky offense can score, and Ole Miss's defense is starting to look really good. Especially since they were what they were last year, leaps and bounds to what they are this year. You know what I mean? But I do have Ole Miss winning this game and knocking Kentucky off, and I'm gonna go with a score of I'll go 35. I'll go 35-21.
Oh, 2 touchdowns. Okay. So I'm with you. I have Ole Miss winning too. Kentucky sometimes can struggle to score, and I think that could hurt them in a game like this, where Ole Miss is going to they're going to get their share. They're going to be able to put up some points. Now, granted, Kentucky has a very good defense. Kentucky's defense with that front four, they can get pressure quickly on the quarterback.
And they blitz so well. God, they blitz well.
Very timely, and very strategic with their blitzing schemes. I think the game will be a little bit closer than 2 touchdowns. Maybe not much closer. I'll go like 10 points. I got Ole Miss winning. I think it'll be something 30-20. Put me down for 30-20. I think Ole Miss will be able to score enough, and if it does get out of the 20s, I think Kentucky's going to be in a little bit of trouble there, because I don't know if they have the weapons to be able to keep up with that. So, got Ole Miss for that one. My game, I'll go Alabama and Arkansas. I think this game will be close. They're a lot closer than what Vegas is forecasting. I seen Alabama as a 16.5 point favorite. And that game it's in Fayetteville too. So I think Arkansas, they're gonna be a little bit hyped up. We talked about it, the very disappointing loss at the last second to Texas A&M. I think they're gonna be ready to go. I think Alabama will have a little bit too much for them, but that game will not be. I do not see a 16-17 point victory in there. That I got it maybe by a touchdown. So I'll go Alabama, and let's go 35-28. Bryce Young will be able to make enough plays there to pull it out for him.
I agree with you. I think Bryce Young is very timely quarterback, man. I mean, he could struggle all game, but man, can you keep him under wraps for the entire game? The answer is there's only one team I've seen do it, and it was Georgia. That was it. And if you look at what they had to do to put that kid in check, they got up for an entire month and ran 5 miles a day, the entire team, just to put this kid in check, to make sure that they had the endurance to go after him every single play. Sorry, Arkansas doesn't have the ability to do that every single play. They will keep up with them pretty much throughout the entire game. 16 points. I do not see that at all. Arkansas is a good defense, and that timely loss to Texas A&M last week was not something that happens every week. Not to this team. They're getting very good, and come next year, they're going to be a force to reckon with. I do agree with you though. Alabama is going to win, but like you, I don't see it by 16. I actually got this 38-31.
All right, and so with that, Patrick, before we move on to the NFL, I just wanted to touch on the balance. It doesn't look like, I mean, I know going into the preseason and going into the first week of the season, a lot of people was looking at Alabama, looking at Georgia, looking at Ohio State, all of those usual suspects, if you want to call them that. The first week, so this was the first week that had a lot of conference games. And looking at the actions through these conferences are going to be tough to win, man. You talked about the depth in the ACC, for an example. There's so many good teams in there with Clemson, NC State, Wake Forest, Florida State, Syracuse is trying to make a mark. So, I mean, this could be really tough. A lot of people, Pittsburgh's still around too. So that's going to be difficult. We talk about the depth of the SEC, Kentucky and Mississippi. That's that game where you have a team that's trying to get up to that level of Georgia and Alabama. And then the Big 12, all those teams, you saw you go down, you saw us go down. Oklahoma State and Baylor's playing each other. And then, I mean, even with West Virginia, Iowa State, those could be some tough games too. And then out in the Pac-12, of course, a lot of people like USC, but I mean, personally, I like Utah in there. But I mean, the Pac-12 with Washington and Oregon, Washington State and Oregon State playing tough ball, like all that is going. Oh gosh. Okay, I got you back. I had lost you.
What happened?
I don't know, man. I had lost you for a second, and then it didn't pop back in, so I don't know what happened, but I got you. And then I mean, all those conferences, the Big Ten, I think the Big Ten can rise up. Watch Minnesota in that conference too.
Yep.
So, I mean, I just really wanted to touch on that real quick, man. Just the depth of these conferences, and it is not going to be. Now, look, ultimately, it might end up being Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State. But if it is, it will not be an easy path getting there at all.
No. And honestly, I don't see, even with all of that you just said, I don't even see like, so you got the playoffs with the top four, right? They're not going to be cupcake wins, like, and I don't want to give any disrespect to Cincinnati and Michigan. They worked their butts off to get where they were at last year. So hats off to them. But man, they were going up against Georgia and Alabama, and Michigan just was not as good as advertised. Now they could be this year because they got a taste. You know, and all it takes is a taste. And you know how it is with any team. You can't measure wins or losses by heart. And I'm going to tell you, man, Michigan they're coming with a lot of heart now. And that's going to be a hard team to beat. Now, do I have them winning? No, we obviously, me and you have already made our picks, and we see Ohio State winning that. But like you said, dude, just the sheer talent that's coming out. You mentioned those games, but don't forget about Duke, who's quietly 3-1. Don't forget about North Carolina, who is quietly 3-1. You know what I mean? Kansas State doing what they did to Oklahoma. Don't forget about them. I mean, they're making these teams that are not ranked, they're starting to make impacts. They're starting to get recruits. They're starting to get, and this whole transfer NIL thing is throwing it all up in the air. So the depth in any of these conferences is just astounding, and man, it just makes it for good play. I mean, this is the first time in a long time that I even said, hey, look at the Pac-12. And this year, I'm saying that.
Oh, shoot. All right, Patrick. Well, shoot. Let's move on to the NFL. And what games caught your eye from there last week?
So there was a couple of games that I really thought were really good. And, you know, obviously I'm back playing my FanDuel fantasy football, and I lost my butt last week on everything. I made $1. You know how much money I spent? My God, made $1 back off of. It was bad. It was bad. It was horrible. But let me give me just a second. Let me pull up that schedule so I can see the games because I do not remember.
All right. Well, while you're doing that, I got you. I guess I'll just jump on a few here that kind of stuck out. How about this one, Patrick? The Jacksonville Jaguars. They ran up, just destroyed the LA Chargers there. 38-10. And I know people were gonna say, oh, well, Justin Herbert was a little banged up. He's coming in here, he had a hurt. Yeah, he had some rib cartilage, so fractured rib actually. But he tried to cut it out there. He was out there and then he was getting whooped. So I did Jacksonville, the way Jacksonville played, I don't care if Justin Herbert was healthy. The Chargers were losing. They were going down that day.
And Jacksonville blitzed.
Yeah.
Blitzed. Like you said, I don't care if Herbert was healthy or not. The dude was going to be doing push-ups all day. That's what he was going to be doing. Push-ups or set-ups? One of the two. You just pick it. You want to be on your stomach? Do push-ups. You want them back? Do a set-up. You're doing it. One way or the other, you're picking yourself up.
So Jacksonville, that game stuck out to me. How about
Indianapolis?
Yes, I got to give credit to the Colts. Yes, they were able to beat the Chiefs because I was looking at them like they were dead in the water, of course. But they were able. Oh my gosh! Okay, I keep losing you. I don't know what's going on, but like for a split second, I keep losing you, and then you get it back. So I don't know. We'll just continue to roll with it.
Hey, technical difficulties.
Live TV, live streaming. But yes, give Kansas City Indianapolis some credit for hanging around and pulling that win out and probably saving their season a little bit, actually. Mm-hmm. The Dolphins, dude, hanging in there and beating Buffalo.
That was Buffalo.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and the Dolphins are sitting there 3-0. The defense, they just hung around. I mean, they survived really an onslaught. I mean, the Bills offense had lots of yardage in that game, but when the Dolphins had to stiffen up, they were able to keep them down to 19 points, and they pulled that game out 21-19. You also had a butt punt in that game too. Look, this is breath of fresh air. We were not going to do this show and not mention a butt punt. Come on now.
I was laughing the entire
but Miami even overcame.
Channels finding the replay.
Yeah. Miami even overcame the butt punt to win this game. So there you go. Speaking of gaffes and fumbles in the end zone, Jimmy Garoppolo, my man, just like
I wasn't gonna say none. That was the most sloppiest game I ever watched in my life.
Jimmy Garoppolo,
Jimmy
G, baby, yeah. Not so much last night on Sunday night in Denver, man. My gosh, he looked bad. I mean, after that first drive, oh my gosh. I mean, and hey, Russell Wilson didn't look too much better. But again, man, when you have these opportunities, you got one thing about Russell Wilson. If he or whatever team he's on, if they're still in the game when they shouldn't be, he will find a way to pull that bad boy out. And the 49ers they couldn't get the scores to put it away, and mention how bad Jimmy G looked. They stayed within a possession the whole time, and they finally got a drive together in the fourth quarter, and then we just had turnovers with Jimmy G staring at receivers, throwing in the double coverage, trying to force the ball to Deebo Samuel and George Kittle. It was not Jimmy G's best game at all. So yeah, so that one stuck out just for the obvious of me just being sick from the result.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say anything, but let me tell you, man, even in fantasy, Jimmy G did better than Russell Wilson.
Oh, God.
by half a point.
I don't.
It was 9.44 and 9.08. They both suck.
Gross. Just a gross game. One more, and then if you didn't have any more, then we could move on. Packers and Bucks. Packers were able to pull that game out 14-12. The defense played good. Now that was the battle with the quarterbacks not really having receivers to throw to, but the Packers were able to pull that out, and they got a gritty win down there in Tampa.
Hey, I got one game. Where's my finger at? Right there.
Yes, I saw that they won in Seattle. We're able to pull that out. Hey, Atlanta, man, they're gonna play. I gotta say that about Atlanta. They're gonna battle. They will scrap.
They are a scrappy team. I will give them that. And let me tell you, dude, I am very impressed with Mariota, man. Like, I was not a huge fan of this pick, and still not. Don't get me wrong, but very impressed through 3 weeks of how well this guy is taking care of the ball. Don't get me wrong. Ridley being out because of all of his gambling, that really hurt our wide receiver. But man, how about London stepping up and doing what he does, man? And like, he has really owned the role. And then Kyle Pitts doing what he does, man. So I mean, I'm not like, I knew we were in rebuild mode. I kind of felt that we were, but man, I just wanted to point that out, man. Mariota is playing very well. Hey, and if this is the way he's going to play, man, I'm not expecting the 6 touchdown a day by him, but I just want him to take care of the ball. He's doing that. So hey, shout out to Atlanta. Finally got that win in Seattle. So,
you know, and real quick, man, the thing with some of these teams, Atlanta, or you're talking about Atlanta, talking about Houston, Jacksonville, maybe even Chicago, the results might not show in the record books. And you could even put Detroit in there too. The results might not show in the record books, but these games are not going to be easy. These teams are going to scrap, and they're going to make you earn it. It's not like you're going in here and saying, "Oh man, we're playing the Texans this week. It's going to be an easy win." No, these teams are going to make you work, and these games are going to come down to the fourth quarter. So, I mean, of course, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, and all three of those teams you mentioned have almost led every game going into the fourth quarter.
Yeah. And shoot, hey, in the case of Jacksonville, Jacksonville might be showing. We will have this show in the records, so we'll see. Speaking of that, Patrick, let's move on to the quick preview here of the games coming up. So I just wanted to say real quick, Jacksonville and Philadelphia is a very interesting game to me going into that week, and then so that was the one that was sticking out to me.
So
it's actually a bunch.
Crazy enough, you mentioned both of these teams in just 30 seconds ago. Cleveland and Atlanta, dude. It's just gonna be a game. I mean, like, you don't know who's gonna win. But let me tell you, you're gonna see some good football out of that game. Cleveland and Atlanta. Another one you're gonna see a good game out of is Denver and Las Vegas. Las Vegas hasn't won a game yet, so they're going to win it all.
Yeah,
they need a win. And who better to get it from than a rival?
Yep.
You know what I mean? So I'm interested in those two games, and I got one more game that I'm really, really, really interested in. This is like my game of the week. Bills and Ravens, man.
Yeah.
This is my game of the week. If I was to pick one, this is my game of the week right here.
A very, very good pick there. I mean, that one can definitely go either way. Probably going to be a shootout. The two quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. You remember me saying one of those two will win the MVP this year. Yeah. Like, I'm on record for that.
This might be a game that tells you which one's going to do it, too.
You're right.
And this is early in the season. Woo. I'm super stoked about this one.
Yes, and real quick, so that another one, the Thursday nighter, Dolphins and Bengals, I think can be pretty interesting.
Oh yeah, I didn't even look at that game. But
Yep,
yeah,
that's your Thursday nighter. So I mean, some very, very good game. This one, if you're playing one of those parlays or you're in a pool where you have to pick these games, this is a tough week to pick some games. So very interesting schedule for week 4. Real
hey,
quick, Patrick.
if you're picking them in FanDuel, good luck.
So,
If you hit all of those, you deserve to win the pot.
right, exactly.
For real.
Woo. So, Patrick, in the NFL, you have two remaining undefeated teams in the league. One is the Miami Dolphins, and the other one is the Philadelphia Eagles. So we talked about, I know, right? So we talked about Miami's win over Buffalo, and Philly. All right, so Philly's beating Detroit, Minnesota, and Washington. Maybe not the best schedule, but they're looking pretty solid. That team does look good. Jalen Hurts is looking like he might start to get some votes for MVP if he continues playing like this. So I guess my question about those two teams, Patrick, since they are the remaining undefeateds, are you buying one of them to be a legit contender? Not necessarily saying they're going to go to the Super Bowl or anything like that. Are they a legit contender to be right there for a Super Bowl berth?
Oh, so we're doing a little mini bite or bark.
A little bit, yes.
A little bit, okay.
Little
okay.
bit.
I got one. Okay, so I got one on both sides, actually. Miami, definitely a bite. I mean, we talked about this team even before the season started, and I mean, both of us have this team as a wild card. So I've already, I can tell you right now, we already got them biting.
I didn't, Patrick. My wild cards were the Bengals, Raiders, and Patriots.
I take that back because mine was the same ones.
Yeah.
Yes. So that being said, sorry on that, but Charles is going to keep me straight on those because my picks, I always forget my picks. But if I was going to say, if I was actually surprised that this team beat Buffalo, and I would have to say, yeah, they are definitely a bite for being a contender in the Super Bowl or playoffs. Philadelphia Eagles, not really sold on their schedule yet. Shout out to them though. I mean, they've only allowed 50 points in 3 games. That's amazing for even with the teams that they're playing against. That's still amazing. That tells me that the defense is showing up. But with the schedule that they have so far, I need to see a little bit more. So if I have to see more, it's not like you went out there and you took Buffalo to the absolute edge and beat them. You beat Washington. I'm sorry, this is not enough for me to see. So right now, Philadelphia would be fine. Or I'm sorry, Bark.
You're right about the Dolphins' schedule. They have beaten the Patriots, the Ravens, and the Bills. So the Dolphins, they've earned this 3-0, and the Eagles have too. I mean, like, you beat who's in front of you. I'm gonna go bite for both, Patrick. So the reason why I'm gonna say the Eagles for a bite is because the NFC does not. The NFC is up for grabs. I mean, there's not a team in there. Well, there's really not a team in the NFL that you're saying, hey, they're just so far and away better than everybody else, in my opinion. In
not
the
now.
NFC, right? Yeah. In the NFC, it really looks up for grabs. Tampa Bay, we have to see what happens when they start getting some people back. Packers, same thing. They have to see if they can get some receivers back to complement their running game. Their defense is playing good. You have the Rams. The Rams haven't been looking very impressive, but they do have a 2-1 record so far. And then the 49ers. Ooh, Jimmy G. Ooh, definitely got to be better than what he showed. So, but other than that, I mean, you're looking at the NFC, and it just really looks up for grabs. And I think the Eagles, right now, the way the defense is playing and the way Jalen Hurts is playing with that running game, the Eagles look kind of complete. Now, don't know if that's going to carry on through, but right now they look really complete. really good on defense. If you have Jalen Hurts playing the way he's playing quarterback right now, it's gonna be interesting. So I got bite for both of them.
Well, I mean, I definitely see where you're coming from. There's only two teams that allow less points than the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC, and that's the 49ers and the Packers. That's it. Everybody else has scored over that. Oh, I take that back. And the Buccaneers only allowed 27 points so far. So, I mean, I see where you're coming from, and totally agree with you. But let's
let it play out. Absolutely.
Let's let it play out. Like you said, they've won the games in front of them, and that's all you can do. It doesn't matter what anybody says. You got to win the games that's in front of you. That's it. So let's let it play out a little bit. I still do think that they are a little bit of a bar right now. But, hey, you put in a couple more wins that are meaningful. Next thing you know, you're 5-0, 6-0. Hey, that can definitely change a lot. So.
All right, so Patrick, we might run a little bit long here, but that's okay. I wanted to jump into the NBA real quick because, well, lo and behold, the preseason will be starting for the NBA next week. And there was a couple of stories that popped out from last week that this is some life stuff here. So we'll start with the Phoenix Suns real quick because their owner is about to sell the team, Robert Sarver. So he's about to sell the team because, well, apparently he's a D-bag, more or less. I mean, the dude is a misogynist, racist, bigot, I mean, whatever, just kind of a garbage human being. And the thing that always catches me when it comes to owners doing this stuff, if you're a player on that team, if you're a coach on that team, hell, even if you're the general manager or an employee on that team, if you know this dude, and we don't know how much they know, that for the record, so I'm not trying to sit there and put anybody in a pedestal, but looking at it from the outside, if this dude is garbage, man, why are y'all working for him? If you're a player and you probably knew this dude was probably a little bit questionable, then why are you coming on all of a sudden saying, oh man, he got to go, I think they got this wrong? Well, if he was paying you, was that a problem then? Like, that's my question. Because this to me, it doesn't seem too different from the situation that you had with the Clippers a few years back and Donald Sterling and all that crazy stuff, that documented history he had of racism.
At least it was, I mean, and that was documented, but I'll say my piece in a minute.
Yeah, but I mean, I just wonder, like, what was going on if this dude was doing all this stuff? What? Why are y'all working for this man? What's going on? And then when all these allegations come out, oh, here we are. Oh, nah, man, yeah, he need to go. Should have been gone a long time ago. But now that it's out in the public eye, you're gonna say all of a sudden he needs to go. And then if the dude was garbage, and he should have been gone a long time ago. I know it's hard because he's the owner, but I mean, come on. I don't know. It just seems a little weird to me, especially if I hear players saying, "Oh man, I think they got this wrong." Well, if he was paying you, it was okay then, but now it's in the public eye. All of a sudden, now it's a problem. I don't know. I like that. That's the thing that gets me about these cases.
And I agree with you. And honestly, it's not. I want to say it's not really about race, but it is. You know what I mean? But this is where I'm going with it. He shouldn't have been gone years ago. The fact of the matter is you shouldn't have played for him to begin with. That's where I have the problem. It's okay as long as the check cashes, but as soon as this comes out in this scenario, now all of a sudden, well, everybody got it wrong. No, you got it wrong. You played for him. You cashed the check. That means you condone his actions. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I agree with him. I don't agree with his actions, but if he is that big of a problem, I don't work for people I'm not going to enjoy working with. It's as simple as that. If I find out, I mean, if I don't know, that's one thing, but if I know, in which it's already, like Sterling, it was documented, I'm not working for the man.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like this is one thing that I have to say, and there's many things that I just do not respect out of Kyrie Irving. I don't. But at least when it comes to his COVID testing, he turned down $100 million contract to say no, because this is what I stand for. Hey, look, I get it. And I respect you, but I respect you not because of what you, but because you stood to your morals. Don't cash the check if you don't like what the morals this man stands for. Don't cash the check. Just don't work for him. It's not that he should have been gone. You just shouldn't work for him. That forces him out. I don't get it either. I don't. I mean, look, I'm not condoning, I'm not agreeing with what the man said, but I'm also not agreeing with the person that cashes his check either. That just lets me know that you're accepting his flaws, and you're gonna, as long as the check cashes at the end of the week, we all good. No, it's not how it works.
Yeah, so the one thing I'll say about Kyrie Irving is, yeah, he declined a bonus, but the dude was still gonna make like $20 million. So his whole thing, so the thing with him saying he was gonna be the voice for the voiceless, man, please. The minute they lifted that mandate, this dude was playing. He didn't care about no voiceless.
All of that. I mean, look, I don't agree with any of that. So.
Okay, all right. I just want to get that out there.
That's all I'm saying. I respect him for that one choice. He made
but
his.
But I see what you're saying, though. I do. I agree.
Nothing but respect for that. The rest of that stuff. Keep it moving, bro. Keep it moving. I
just wanted to get that part out there. Yeah, but I see what you're saying.
But there was, like I said, there was a lot of things I just don't agree with him on. But that one thing, hey, he stood to his morals. Salute you on that. Keep it moving, bro. Keep it moving. I just got one more thing, and then we can wrap it up if you're ready to go. I just got one more thing, and mine won't take long.
Go ahead.
30 seconds. Hey, shout out to Albert Pujols for making 700 home runs, dude. Congratulations, bro.
Very nice. Oh, Patrick, there is one more thing. Boston Celtics. Because Ime Udoka is not going to be coaching for for this next season. And then I guess they're going to, and this is a Celtics punishment, not an NBA punishment. But the Celtics said they're going to reevaluate here at a later date. So to me, I don't think he's going to be there. If you done suspended him for a season, I don't see him coming back to coach. That's just me. Boston might decide he had some good conduct. He did everything he needed to do, depending on what else is in that punishment. Like maybe they said you have to work to this capacity, and if you're able to take care of these responsibilities, we'll be willing to bring you back as the coach next year. Now, Boston didn't go anywhere to hire. They're having the assistant coach be the interim coach for the year, and we'll see where it goes from there. But this is obviously a big deal for Boston, besides the obvious of, hey, this is a head coach who got suspended for, I guess, an improper relationship with a female employee. Now, Boston was in the NBA Finals last year, and Udoka was in his first year coaching, and they got to the finals. So there's that. And then with the improper relationship thing, where I wanted to go with this a little bit, Patrick, was the coverage. Because it turned into, oh my gosh, who's the female employee? I mean, people doing all these Twitter searches. They're going to the Celtics team pages to look for the female employee. They're over here trying to look for who it could be. Oh, but maybe he hooked up with one of the Celtics reporters. So everybody's looking for just who this woman could be. Now,
that's the check.
That's despicable to me. I'm like, golly, and you know how people are though, Patrick. People love drama, and they're over here trying to see and try to have their thought process. She looked good. She probably looked messing with her. It's wild. It's crazy. But the one thing that also we have to remember this: relationships and marriages, they just don't mean the same thing that they did back in the day. And when I say back in the day, I can even go maybe 10, 15 years ago. And that's not to knock. Exactly. And and that's not to knock the traditional nature of it. I mean, because you remember those vows, death do us part, for sickness and health, better or for worse. Just marriages and relationships, they do not have the same meaning anymore. You got open relationships, and look, this might get a little bit X-rated, so whatever. Sorry in advance. But you got husband swapping, wife swapping. I mean, you got all kinds of stuff that's out there. Swingers. You have all kinds of stuff.
That reminded me of the Dave Chappelle wife swap.
Yeah,
we're going interracial.
Yes. You have all kinds of stuff out there, man, and these relationships don't mean the same. So I don't know. I mean, I know because Udoka, he was Nia Long. You remember Nia Long? Mm-hmm. That's his fiance, and they have a kid together. So I know she made a statement. I didn't get to see the statement, but there's no telling what the stipulations of those relationships are. What might be wrong for somebody might not be wrong to somebody else. So that's one thing. Also, whatever Ime Udoka did, it was serious enough to where the Celtics said, no, man, we cannot have this happen. So I also want to be clear that this wasn't something that happened to Ime Udoka. From everything we have heard, Ime Udoka caused this on his own. And so we have to keep that in mind as well, because people want to make it like, oh, well, why is Ime Udoka doing? No. He did something. The team did not like it, and they punished him for it.
And he is directly cause of his problems.
Yes.
I don't have sympathy for people that do that. I don't.
Exactly.
If you're going to shoot yourself in the foot, deal with the consequences.
Exactly. So I know that there'll be more details, I'm sure, will come out. But yeah, I mean, we have to remember those things. Relationship statuses, and this is a Udoka doing. This is not oh man, he had an unfortunate circumstance. No, this seems like this was something he forced, and the team stepped in and said, we got to do something about this.
Yep. Either that or
it's a human relations problem.
Yeah, or they're going to have a Jacksonville problem and Urban Meyer, or they might as well just hire Urban Meyer and let him chill out in Cleveland with his girls and tell everybody, hey, drop your phones in the bucket because it ain't happening again.
On that note, we out.
Goodbye.
We out. No, man, and hey, man, this was a very good show. Hey, we ran a little bit long, but we had a lot to cover. So hey, bear with us.
We tried something new, so bear with us. We will get that down.
Yeah. So on that note, that will conclude this edition of the Breath of Fresh Air webcast. Y'all make sure y'all visit the Breath of Fresh Air YouTube channel and smash that subscribe button and follow the Breath of Fresh Air Facebook page. Other than that, everybody enjoy the games. Patrick, I talked a little bit about baseball last week. Want to make sure that you were back in before we talk about it this week, because I think next week is the final week of the regular season before the playoffs start. So we'll make sure we get that into the show. We'll make sure we get that into the show. Up until then, everybody take care. Enjoy this weekend's games in football. And we will talk to you at the same time next weekend or next week. Take care.